Hello, Sandra. Can you hear me?
Yes, perfect.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for your time tonight. Yep.
We
Yes,
have a
indeed.
lovely group of people here tonight.
Always, always. You know, we try and keep this to a 1 hour talk, and we try and always make this interesting, and we have different topics of conversation. I think tonight you'll find this likewise interesting and intriguing. Again, my name is Tom Paladino. Sandra Miller is with us. Thank you for your effort. Likewise, Sandra.
Mhm.
Our website, scalarlight.com, please tell your friends about it. We always have free sessions. If you look at the website at the very top, it says free trial. Anybody in the world can sign up for a free trial. That's how we get the information out there. It's all word of mouth. It's all done by our community. This is a growing community, but nonetheless, it's a group of people. We're not, I would say, attached to academia or anybody in the business sphere. So it's a grassroots movement. So if this is the first time to the call, welcome. When we work with people, it's always by way of a photograph. This is my photograph. So the laboratory is in a remote location because obviously you do not have to come to a laboratory. So what we have found is that a photograph carries your copy. It's a copy of your spirit, mind, and body, if you will. So I never work with people or animals. I always work with photographs of people, animals, plants, objects. I want to make that clear. So if you were to sign up for our free trial, you would be simply instructed to send in a photograph. And we access you, we send you information by way of your photograph. So with that in mind, the photograph is the focus of our work. We don't make any claims per se because we're not working with people, animals, or plants. We're working with photographs which represent people, animals, and plants. And you might say, if this is your first time joining us, what does this all mean? Well, many people, I'm one of them, we believe that a photograph is your energetic copy. A photograph is really you on a piece of paper. And that we can project energy, scalar energy in particular, to a piece of paper, and we can detect certain things. We can detect your molecular structure, your atomic structure, or we can detect your 7 chakras, amongst other things. Anyway, everything we do is by way of a photograph. There is no physical plant. So we are working in the quantum field, or what some people might say, the scalar energy force field, by way of photographs. So on any given day, people will send me, this is an example now, collages of photographs. This is just an example. Every day I receive hundreds, thousands of photographs from around the world. And I place this collage of photographs inside my instrument, and the instrument will send energy to those photographs, okay? That's how we work. Everything is done in a photographic laboratory with scalar energy instruments. So those are some of the basics of this quantum science. It's a new and emerging science, and we're learning about it every day. There's so much to learn. Before we get into our conversation tonight, do we have any questions to start off the hour? I try and speak for no more than 30, 35 minutes. And before I speak, I always want to take some questions. And after our topic of conversation, I'd like to take some questions. I want this to be conversational. I do not want this to be a monologue tonight. So don't be bashful. If you have a question, raise your hand. If you want to send it in by chat, if you'd rather send it in, write in a question, go ahead, write in a question.
Yeah.
I just saw one. Can you help me out with that question, Sandra?
The one that's, I only see, let's see, can you measure scalar energy? Love that question.
No, that's a great question. Excellent question. Sadly, there's no meter, there's no gauge. You can feel it. I feel it every day that I'm in my laboratory. And some people say that when I send energy to their photograph that they feel that energy, but I can't prove that. So do you feel it? I feel it in the laboratory. Sadly, we've never developed the gauge because we're not working with electricity. This is not electromagnetic energy. There's no meter, there's no oscilloscope, there's no magnetometer. You just cannot measure scalar energy. We've never developed a gauge for it. And there is another question I want to address. And the question is, what is the relationship between meditation and scalar energy? Everything. Great question. Meditation is scalar energy. Now, that's a very good question, and let me expand upon that. When we think, when we meditate, or when we pray, that is a emanation of scalar energy. That's scalar energy in motion, so to speak. So that's what we're working with. We're working with consciousness. We're working with prayer or intention. So a scalar energy instrument is really an instrument of prayer. It's an instrument of intention. And the relationship between meditation and scalar energy is that these are two identical concepts. Very good. Congratulations.
Yeah.
So that's the realm that we're in. This is a non-physical realm. And this is why we work with people in the non-physical realm by way of their photograph. Because we can send energy to your photograph, which is essentially non-physical. It's all done by way of meditation. So I could simply say, using that as a tautology, I could say that I could place your photograph inside an instrument and send the photograph scalar light or scalar energy, or it's meditative. It's a meditation. It's the same. It's identical. So good point. I like that. We've entered into a new branch of physics in which you don't have physical matter. Imagine that. There's no electron or proton. It's all intention. It's all intelligence. We're working with the intelligence of the universe. That's what scalar energy is. And it's so exciting. Many of you are grasping that. This is an informational field. It's a universal informational field. Another
We have
question.
another one. Yep. Let me see. Something like levitation. Can that be accessed through meditation?
Yes.
And also be through scalar? We just talked about that last week.
Yes. Levitation is possible. Why? Because gravity is possible. What is the cause of gravity? It's scalar energy. And we demonstrated last week that there were examples of levitation or anti-gravity. So if scalar energy is the cause of gravity, then you simply relax or you negate that certain character of scalar energy in a local environment, and you have anti-gravity or you have levitation. Now, it's been said that some people can levitate on their own. We demonstrated last week instruments that could levitate. We also demonstrated insect wings that could levitate, that would experience anti-gravity. So you're getting to see now the vast prospect here, how the horizon is infinite, if you will. If scalar energy is also the cause of gravity, then we've entered into a branch of physics of anti-gravity. Well, imagine what that means to mankind, that we now have a propulsion system in which we can travel about by way of an anti-gravity platform or an anti-gravity instrument. I think that day is coming, and I believe in the future we will be using scalar energy instruments to negate, or at least in some way assuage, gravity, and in so doing we'll be able to levitate and move about on these anti-gravity flying machines. So another great prospect there.
Now we have a question. Do you have photographs of your instruments?
I do, and I'll put them on Facebook tomorrow. How's that?
And I do want to go back to the question about the meditation and just add something to that. We just met again. I think it's Gilles, I think is how you say your name. But think about this. There's so much science right now behind the pineal gland as being basically the gateway to higher consciousness. And when you mentioned meditation, in that meditation, many people have actually accessed the holographic nature of the universe. So very interesting that that is like a gateway.
Yep, thank you. Another question is, what's the relationship between tachyon energy, T-A-Y-C-H-O-N, and scalar energy? They're identical. Another great question. We've heard so many terms used, scalar energy, tachyon energy, 0 point energy. Sometimes the Russians called it torsion energy, orgone energy, ether energy. There's two energies. Let's make this very simple. There's electromagnetic energy, and then there's scalar energy. Scalar energy is a term that's used, it's coming in vogue, but other synonymous terms for scalar energy are tachyon energy, chi, prana, 0-point energy, ether energy. Some people call it pyramid energy or orgone energy. Why is this so important? Because energy dictates the universe. And I'm going to show you tonight how energy, scalar energy, dictates cloud formations. Cloud formations. We're going to show you a pretty neat video when you're going to see how scalar energy creates clouds and maintains clouds. And these clouds are stationary. They're called lenticular clouds. Again, good questions.
And Tom, I missed one. I apologize. Skillet has a question. Can you prove scalar energy exists?
Yes. By the fact that the universe has geometry. What gives the universe instructions? What gives the universe form? It's the fact that the universe has this instructions, this order to it, order out of chaos. If you look at the universe, what holds it together? It's scalar energy. Okay? Nobody's ever defined the molecular bonds, the atomic bonds appropriately. Why? Because nobody realizes that the atomic bonds, the molecular bonds that holds together atoms and molecules, that's intelligence. Specifically, it's scalar energy intelligence. So can I prove that the energy exists? I can in my laboratory, and I can by way of demonstration. I can observe what scalar energy can do. Okay. One of the things that I've observed in my laboratory, it can create a vitamin. Here's an example. Pyridoxine. This is vitamin B6. I'm just going to hold this up. Vitamin B6, that's B6 under magnification. Now, what am I saying? That when I place a photograph of this vitamin B6 in my instrument, what's created is the molecular formula. Can you see that? Is the molecular formula of B6. So this geometry is created when I introduce a photograph of B6 into the instrument. So what does that mean? Well, by observation, it's all empirical, I can observe that a vitamin can be created, actually assembled inside my instrument when I'm working with this scalar light instrument. It can create molecular forms. So that's, to me, that's very telling, and it's by way of observation. I say that scalar energy is the cause of all atomic and molecular forms. If that's true and accurate, then we have discovered that the technique, the primal force that gives the universe shape. In other words, scalar energy creates and maintains the universe. Scalar energy is the animating force behind the entire physical universe. It creates the physical universe and it maintains the physical universe. It's quite fascinating to me.
Somebody asked what the definition of scalar was, so I grabbed it from Wikipedia and I put it in there. But basically, it's said to be a physical quantity that has only magnitude and no other characteristics, because it is a waveform, but at times it's a particle form. But for the most part, even us, we are mostly wave. We're 90% wave and 10% particle. So there's your magnitude.
Why is the term scalar used? It really is not a definitive term. Maybe there could be a better term. It really means the all-pervasive spirit of God. Scalar energy is everywhere. And when we said it doesn't have a direction, it doesn't, because it's everywhere. Now, if you're working with electricity, you're working with a signal. A signal travels from point A to point B. With electricity. Electricity is the movement of electrons. Well, to the contrary, what is scalar energy? It's the presence. It's this energy that's everywhere instantly, instantaneously. That's quite fascinating to us. it's already 15 after. I want to get into our topic. Again, we try and limit this to 1 hour. Your time is precious, and I want to make this interesting.
Lisa Marie, we'll answer that question at the end. The question is, does this work support Rife frequencies? So I won't forget that. We'll get to that at the end.
I'll answer that quickly, and we'll get into it. Royal Rife was a genius, but I believe Rife was using electromagnetic energy. And he had devised a number of frequencies in which he could identify body movement, certain types of disease, certain types of toxins, certain types of pathogens. Rife, I believe, was using electromagnetic energy, where I am using scalar energy. His approach, in many ways, I copied. If Rife could identify, detect a body part or a disease condition, or if Rife could detect a bacterium, and he did this with an electromagnetic instrument, I'm doing that with a scalar instrument. But here's the big difference. I never work with people, animals, or plants. I always work with photographs. So my entire career has been devoted to this non-local representation. Okay, I can't stress that enough. This is why I never consider what I'm doing to be medicine. It's not. This is ill-defined. It's poorly defined. It's poorly understood. I mean, how many people around the world are working with photographs? You can do that in a scalar energy force field. See, Rife had to work with people in person. Okay, he was a local practitioner, and good for him. I don't have a local office. I only work by way of photographs. You'll get into that. You'll understand the depth of our work once you start visiting our Facebook page, which is Scalar Light Tom Paladino, or visit our website, which is scalarlight.com. There's a lenticular cloud that's on Mount Ararat. That's where Noah's Ark was found. Anyway, these are flat-shaped, pancake-shaped clouds, lenticular clouds. You're going to find this fascinating, so bear with us. What is a lenticular cloud? Well, a lenticular cloud, I believe, is created by a scalar energy. Scalar energy is able to emanate, to broadcast and give off an incredible amount of scalar energy. And mountains, volcanoes are able to produce a prodigious amount. Volcanoes and mountains are able to produce a prodigious amount of scalar energy. And in so doing, what happens? We see clouds formed by way of this formation, this cloud formation from the ground, from scalar energy emanating from the ground. So I'm going to click on a video. First of all, tell me if you can see this video.
Yes, they look like spaceships.
Okay, all right, all right. So let me back up a second. We're going to speak about, once again, lenticular clouds. These are clouds caused by scalar energy upwelling, scalar energy emanating from volcanoes, scalar energy upwelling from mountains, or scalar energy upwelling from some type of a fault line. Now, what you're looking at are two lenticular clouds over Mount Rainier. Can we see that clearly, people?
Perfectly.
You see, my pointer is looking at the one on the bottom. That's a pulsation of scalar energy. And then above is another pulsation of scalar energy, okay? Now, Mount Rainier is a volcano. And what I'm getting at is scalar energy is upwelling from Mount Rainier. And in so doing, we see a great deal of lenticular activity on certain days. On this particular day, there's a preponderance of scalar energy emanating from the mountain. Those two lenticular clouds, that's not trick photography, those two lenticular clouds are stationary. This is what I find so fascinating. And I'm going to show you a video at the end of a lenticular cloud in time-lapse photography that is stationary over the mountains. Now, where are we going with this? Well, once again, if scalar energy is the cause of physical phenomenon, we can see that this upwelling of scalar energy, this upwelling of scalar dynamics that are now able to create and maintain clouds. Okay. What does that mean? Well, eventually we should be able to use scalar energy to create clouds, rain clouds, or break apart rain clouds. Okay. So again, not trick photography here. That is two lenticular clouds, and they are stationary over Mount Rainier. And as I forward it, I'm going to show you other lenticular clouds. The formation is just incredible. Here's another shot of Mount Rainier. Okay, these lenticular clouds are stationary. Now the clouds in the background will move. So what's my point? Once again, many volcanoes, many mountains, even earthquake fault lines give off so much scalar energy that that scalar energy can create and maintain a cloud. Now, if we were able to take scalar energy instruments and create and maintain clouds, we could eventually create rain. Okay, that's where we're going with this. This is an incredible technology. Once again, to underscore a comment that I made earlier, scalar energy is the cause of physical formation. Scalar energy is the cause of atomic and molecular structure. Well, we can see this molecular structure. We can see how these clouds filled with water, moisture, are forming over Mount Rainier. And again, if you could take a close look, it's almost like a hat that's covering the mountain. And these lenticular clouds, they situate usually right over a mountain or right over a volcano. If you go to our Facebook page, Scalar Light Tom Paladino, I've provided other photographs of lenticular clouds. There are lenticular clouds that are found in places like Sedona, Arizona. Why? Because there's an upwelling of scalar energy in Sedona, Arizona. And that's why people feel this energy when they're in Sedona, Arizona. What is that feeling that people have? What is that sensation that people have when they go to Sedona? Well, invariably, that sensation is scalar energy that's upwelling all around Sedona. I've seen people on video, I've seen people in Sedona with a compass in their hand, and they're trying to orient the compass, and the compass won't orient. Now, why? Well, when you're in a strong scalar energy force field, there is no east, west, north, or south. And this is why many people, when they have a compass in a, say, scalar energy force field somewhere in or around Sedona, a compass will not properly orient, because in a strong scalar energy force field, it overwhelms, if you will, the magnetic north. There is no north, east, south, west in a scalar energy force field. Remember, scalar energy pervades the universe. It's everywhere at once. And hence, what we see in the electromagnetic dimension, in which a compass can orient, in a scalar energy environment, a compass cannot orient. And again, to emphasize, I've seen people in Sedona with a compass, and the compass will just gyrate around and around. It will not fixate on true north, because there's so much scalar energy in Sedona, Arizona, a compass just simply will not orient. And we've also seen that with some people. They've had watches, their wristwatch in some parts of Sedona is able to experience this force field and will adversely affect a wristwatch. The wristwatch will not move forward in time. Why? Because a scalar energy force field has a direct impact influence not only upon a compass, but upon a watch. It's quite fascinating. So many people have always wondered, why are there certain places in the world that you feel different? You know, I've been to Sedona. I have felt a difference there. I felt the energy shift. What is it? It's scalar energy. Why is there's that feeling in Sedona? Why do people travel to Sedona on vacation? Or why do people go to Mount Rainier or to Mount Shasta? Because a lot of these places have a great deal of scalar energy, a preponderance of scalar energy. There are some more lenticular clouds, and these lenticular clouds are just fascinating. As far as I'm concerned, it's a telltale sign of scalar energy. Now, this is Mount Shasta in the background to the left. This cloud is a lenticular cloud, obviously, and you can see how the sun is just illuminating it. It looks almost surreal. It's very much a true photograph. It's not trick photography. But you'll see that in this particular photograph, there's only one cloud in the sky. It's a round-shaped, stationary lenticular cloud in which the scalar energy emanating from Mount Shasta has caused this lenticular cloud to form. I have friends who go to Mount Shasta on vacation. They say they just love it and they feel invigorated, and they say they feel energized. Well, why are they energized? Because Mount Shasta gives off a tremendous amount of scalar energy. And these lenticular clouds are common many times in this part of the world. Mount Rainier, Mount Shasta. I'm going to show you some lenticular clouds over Mount Hood. Just fascinating.
It's interesting that it's not breaking up.
Yes.
It's still intact and moving intact.
Yeah, yeah.
Pretty crazy.
Yeah. Here's another photograph coming up of Mount Shasta. Now, again, these lenticular clouds are stationary right over the mountain. It looks like a hat. Some people say it's a pancake. Why is it fixed in place? It's fixed in place because the upwelling of scalar energy in the cones, okay, causes this energy to form and to create clouds. Now, I come from a Christian background, and there's a corollary to that. The Ark of the Covenant always had a cloud over it. So I believe the Ark of the Covenant gave off scalar energy. And you had this cloud that would cover the Ark of the Covenant, just like you have a cloud that covers Mount Shasta, okay? So these clouds, once again, are stationary by and large. And the other clouds in the background, they're atmospheric clouds, and they will move, but the lenticular cloud will not move. Here's some more lenticular clouds. Look at them. They're majestic, but they're usually over volcanoes, they're usually over mountains, they're usually over fault lines. Now, there's a corollary to this. A lot of people now see a similarity between lenticular cloud formation and earthquake activity. The cause of earthquakes is scalar energy. It's an emanation of scalar energy. The cause of a volcano is what? This upwelling of energy. How does a volcano form? It's a burst, if you will. It's an explosion of scalar energy. What can we attribute these mountain ranges to? What caused this upheaval? It's scalar energy. So scalar energy will create a mountain. Scalar energy will create a volcano. Scalar energy will be the cause of an earthquake. There is science behind it. There are satellite photographs of these lenticular clouds. And when you see those satellite photographs, they're almost angular. They're almost like geometric clouds. And as you know, a cloud is really without form. It's amorphic. And it really doesn't have that specific angular, those lines, that geometric configuration. Now, as opposed to a lenticular cloud, which is indeed more of a structured cloud, and it has a specific geometry to it. You'll see when we get into this next frame. Energy. If you've ever seen the birth of a volcano is essentially a mountain. It's a mountain on fire. What caused that upwelling? What caused that explosion? What caused that volcano to grow out of the ground? It's scalar energy. And now, to this day, many of these volcanoes, extinct or active volcanoes, still show a upwelling of scalar energy in the shape of lenticular clouds forming over the volcano. Okay, we're going to show you Mount Hood now. Now take a good look at this video. It's It's a lenticular cloud, and I want you to take a close look just at the summit. I'm going to freeze this for 1 second. Look at this lenticular cloud and look at the geometry here. Now, this is how this looks. Well, if you had a satellite view, it would almost appear to be angular from a bird's eye view. And look how that lenticular cloud stays above Mount Hood. Now, you can see the other clouds in the atmosphere behind it. Atmospheric clouds are moving, but the lenticular cloud is fixed in space. So this is what we've seen by observing scalar energy, okay? And when we become students of scalar energy, we see that this energy is everywhere, that it's responsible for the formation of clouds. Scalar energy, the upwelling of scalar energy causes an earthquake. If you will, there are many animals, dogs, cats, even cows, that can predict an earthquake. Why? Because they can sense scalar energy. Some people are so sensitive to scalar energy, if they feel a preponderance of scalar energy, they will say, yes, there's an earthquake coming. There's an earthquake that's going to be able to be sensed ahead of time. And then sometimes they're so accurate that that upwelling of scalar energy does indeed produce some type of an earthquake, some type of seismic activity. So I would say that now there is an emerging science that lenticular clouds could be a predictor or some type of indication of at least a great deal of scalar energy in a particular area. There are some scientists who are saying that lenticular clouds could be a predictor of some type of seismic activity or volcanic activity in the future. It's also been said that some of the fault lines around the world, there's so much scalar energy coming out of a fault line that if you look actually inside a fault line, you can find so many minerals. You can even find gold in a fault line. Now, what does that mean? That there are so much scalar energy coming out of a fault line. And again, that scalar energy is responsible for matter. Remember, scalar energy will assemble an atom or a molecule or disassemble an atom or a molecule. Well, there seems to be, and many scientists point this out, there seems to be a high degree of gold in and around a fault line. So what's the point? That the scalar energy emanating out of a fault line is assembling gold. So the instructions, the scalar energy that's coming out of a fault line, amongst other things, are assembling minerals. One of them is gold. Now imagine if we can eventually command scalar energy so that we can create any mineral that we want. We can create carbon, gold, we can create phosphorus, nitrogen. That's where we're going with this. If Mother Nature knows how to assemble gold in a fault line, then we should be able to mimic that. We should be able to imitate that. Why can't we use scalar energy instruments to create gold, okay, or to create silver, or to create copper? And I think it's doable. I think it's something that once we understand how to work with this energy, control it, and manipulate it, that scalar energy is going to be the tool to create what we want. Like I told you when we started our program, if this is a photograph of B6, this is one of the photographs that I use with my instrument to create vitamin B6, okay? And if I can create vitamin B6, well, what's to stop us from creating all of the elements on the periodic table? So consider where we're going with this. If scalar energy can create a cloud, then eventually we can control the weather. If scalar energy can create gold or other types of minerals in fault lines, then eventually we should be able to create every atom, every element, every molecule that we need. You don't have to drill for gold or oil. You just create it. You create it. So this is the new information science, scalar energy science. This is the tool that we have. A scalar energy instrument can either create an atom or break apart an atom, can create a molecule or break apart a molecule. It's, to me, it's just, it's so fascinating. It enthralls me to be able to be on this quest and to bring scalar energy to the world. I've lamented that there's too few of us. There's too few scalar energy researchers. I can't do it alone. I can't do it alone. Somebody said, Tom, you're an alchemist. Exactly.
Mhm.
There's a science to alchemy, and it's brain over brawn, people. Don't try and do this the hard way by smashing atoms, by any type of nuclear fission or fusion. Forget that. The easy way is with scalar energy, which are instructions, and you just instruct an atom or a molecule to assemble. Okay, that's the easy way. Nikola Tesla was said to have used scalar energy instruments, and he could construct, he could create certain types of minerals, certain types of atomic forms. Okay, my predecessor, a man by the name of Hieronymus, in his laboratory, he could easily create minerals. Remember that, to create a mineral. So instead of having to go and strip the land bare and to find iron ore, right, or oil, or search for gold, okay, or looking for certain types of stone, et cetera, why don't we just create it? Isn't that the easy way to create this? We'll be able to create every element on the periodic table, from hydrogen to uranium. We'll be able to create every element on the periodic table. What does this mean to mankind? We're going to have control over physical nature. And with a scalar energy instrument, we will have dominion over nature. Okay? If you read the book of Genesis, Adam and Eve had dominion over nature. They could control nature. Well, that's where we're going. We're going back to the Garden of Eden, and we're going to be able to control nature. And you do it with this fundamental force, scalar energy. As I showed you, if scalar energy can create a cloud, then we should be able to create anything. My predecessor, his name was Galen Hieronymus, and I actually inherited some of his instruments. Galen Hieronymus, during the lunar expedition, he had photographs of the Apollo 11 astronauts. And during their mission, he kept their vital signs. He could monitor their vital signs, and one of the astronauts had a virus. And he was able, with his instrument in the state of Georgia, he was able to work with the astronaut on the moon and break down and destroy the virus, okay? All by way of a photograph, okay? All by way of a photograph. So what's the point? The point is, in a scalar energy dimension, you don't have to be locally present, because you're working in a paradigm, you're working in an information system. So we're no longer bound to point A and point B. No, everything is interconnected in a scalar energy environment. And to go back to my story with Hieronymus, he was able to take 3 photographs of astronauts and monitor their biorhythms when they were 270,000 miles away on the moon. Now, if Hieronymus could do that with photographs of astronauts, I do the same thing. I take photographs of people, and I can monitor what type of viruses and what type of toxins they have in their body. And with a photograph now, I'm able to not only monitor, detect viruses and toxins, but I also can subject that photograph to energy and break down the molecular bonds on the photograph of the virus, or break down the molecular bonds of the toxin. Okay? Nobody has ever been in my laboratory. I never work with people in person. I only work with photographs. So this is the new science, people. A science in which we can access anybody, anywhere in the world, or we can access even astronauts while they orbit the moon. And we do all of this by way of this scalar energy instrument, which transcends time and space. We're no longer bound to time and space. So you could tell my excitement. Why am I so excited? We finally have an answer to our problems. Okay, this new technology is going to solve so many problems. People say the pollution. What are we going to do about pollution? Why don't we just break it apart with a scalar energy instrument? Okay. Why don't we just, get rid of the toxins, the poisons, the pesticides in the soil with scalar energy? That day is coming. Okay. If we can create a chemical, then we can break apart a chemical. So if we can create a cloud, we can break apart a cloud. So, if God ever gave us the wisdom, we could break apart the hurricane clouds. Imagine that. I'm holding in my hand a test result. This is known as a PCR test result. Okay. People around the world, after I work with them with our photograph, they will report to us that their test results, say for herpes, shows that there's no sign of herpes, or that they had Epstein-Barr or the HIV virus. Now, bear in mind, I've never met these people. I only work with photographs of people. But apparently what I'm doing with a photograph of a person allows me to break down the molecular bonds of viruses found on their photograph. And a lot of people are now saying that, yes, there's a direct connection between a photograph and their actual physical body. Okay? That's what my contention. It's a theory. I can't prove it. But I have test results that show you that there's a strong correlation between people that I've worked with by way of a photograph and the fact that they no longer have a virus. Quite profound. We have our program, the standardized program, have a nutrient program, and minerals are part of the nutrient program, in which I actually place photographs of, say, magnesium and phosphorus inside the instrument. And then eventually, that magnesium and phosphorus is downloaded into your photograph. Okay, so I'm able to do it to a limited extent with photographs that people send to me. And I'm saying that, again, I only work with photographs, but I believe that has a direct correlation to how people feel, and the download from the photograph to a person, although theoretical, I think it's apparent. I think it is indeed real. Again, all of this is a new and emerging science. I can't mention that enough. I can't underscore that enough. I wish there were thousands of researchers doing this. They're not. To this day, I'm befuddled. I don't know why. If this offers such promise, where's the help from academia? I could tell you people, not one university has ever contacted me and made a serious inquiry into my results, into my research, not one. So we remain, as I said earlier, a grassroots effort. I thank all of you for what you're doing. I hope you find this topic of lenticular clouds and cloud formations exciting and promising. I hope you see the cause and effect relationship. Any volcano, any mountain range is giving off scalar energy. Why? Well, it was scalar energy that created the volcano. It was scalar energy that created the mountain. And this is why many people say, let's go to the mountain to meditate. Why? Because it's a scalar energy environment. Many mountains are still very active with scalar energy. I've seen lenticular clouds over the Rocky Mountains. And the Rocky Mountains I don't think they're uplifting that significantly, but whatever caused the formation of the Rocky Mountains in Colorado, at one time, it was a tremendous upwelling of scalar energy. That's scalar energy in motion. You could call that tremendous seismic activity. It was. What created the Cascade Mountains? What created the Rocky Mountains? It was a tremendous upwelling of scalar energy. And to this day, you still see the remnants of that upwelling of scalar energy in the formation of lenticular clouds. And also there's other phenomena. Many of these mountains have a preponderance of silver and gold. Why do you think there's so much silver and gold in the Rocky Mountains? Because there's so much scalar energy coming up from the ground that it's creating, that it's assembling the gold and the silver. At a time, I spent some time in Colorado in my younger days, and there were old silver mines throughout Colorado. Why? Because of all the scalar energy upwelling in Colorado as a result of so much seismic activity, creating the mountain ranges. And what's the result of that? A great deal of creation of minerals, lead, silver, gold, etc.
If the environment is full of scalar energy, why do you need to harness it?
Well, that's a good point. Here's a good point. The world is filled with water. Water is abundant. Well, why do I need to harness it? To collect it, okay? To collect it. So where does scalar energy originate from? The sun and the stars. But even though we have this universal presence of scalar energy, you still have to control it and you still have to manipulate it. And that's the key. It's like electricity. 200 years ago, electricity was a theory, and people would get a spark, a shock, or they would see some type of electrical current. Well, they never controlled it. Now we can control electricity. We're at the same place with scalar energy. Scalar energy is everywhere. Electricity is everywhere. But we had to, 200 years ago, we didn't understand how to control electricity. Now we do. We have to control and manipulate scalar energy as we control and manipulate electricity. That's my point.
Yeah, good question. Good answer.
Yeah. But let me give you a parallel, and don't think I'm putting myself on the same footing. When Edison was looking to harness scalar electricity and create the phonograph or whatever he created, you know, there's such dispute. And the radio, some say Marconi developed the radio first. Some people say Tesla. Obviously, Edison was one of the first, if not the first, to create a light bulb. All of this points to the effect that, yes, electricity is real, and it took a great deal of effort to be able to control electricity and then create instruments to control it, and then utilize electricity, whether it's for, you know, a light bulb or a phonograph or the radio. And today, obviously, we're using electromagnetic energy for computers and satellites. The point is, you have to start somewhere, and I'm starting somewhere. And my instruments, I've perfected my instruments to the point I can guarantee that I can break down the molecular bonds of viruses, bacteria, and fungi. I've perfected that. I can do that with my eyes closed, okay? Now I want to move on. You know, I want to be able to power the world with scalar energy. How do I do that? I don't know, but I know it's possible. And that's what Tesla, that's one of Tesla's goals. He wanted to provide wireless power transmission. If you looked at his tower in Colorado Springs, that was his first attempt to produce a wireless transmission of energy, which was scalar energy. What does that mean? It means free energy, people. Scalar energy is from the sun and the stars. If we can harness sun energy, star energy, we no longer have an energy crisis. No longer an energy crisis. So I pray that God gives me the wisdom, or that God gives somebody else the wisdom, and that we develop scalar energy instruments to power the world. Free energy, people, free energy. Okay, we'll no longer have to drill for oil. You won't have to have a nuclear reactor. You know, windmills are wonderful, but they're expensive to erect. And then you have to depend upon the wind. Scalar energy, all you have to do is erect a scalar energy instrument. The sun and the stars are always there. You don't have to worry about it. And it's clean energy, and it doesn't leave, obviously, any carbon footprint. So this is where we're going. This is why I'm so excited. And every day I'm thinking, I'm researching, I want to be able to create these instruments. How do I create a power instrument? How do I power my house or a factory with scalar energy? How do I create a scalar energy anti-gravity flying platform? Okay, so much work to do. This past week, I was buying vacuum tubes. I'm going to be doing some experimentation with vacuum tubes. I'm always doing something. So whatever I'm going to invent, it will have to be a scaled down version. We'll have a talk about Nikola Tesla, and we'll speak about one Thursday night about his success building scalar energy towers, etc. Okay, we're getting close to the top of the hour again. Our website, scalarlight.com. Tell your friends to avail themselves of the free trial. at the very top, scalarlight.com. We always have a free trial. Anybody in the world can send in their photograph.
Link for the Facebook group. The group is a private group, but once you go there, we just let you in and then we share all kinds of stuff. The page is just a general page, any kind of, like anybody's fan page, but the group is facebook.com/groups/scalar energy healing. Remember, there are 3 dots on the right-hand side of the chat box. If you click that, it should say save chat. You can save the entire chat. You can get all the PDFs we dropped. You can get all the links we dropped. I thought that was really odd that you guys weren't seeing that. I kept dropping it and everyone kept saying, I don't see it. So I'm sorry for that, that they weren't showing up. But if you want something via email, then just email me. I'm not going to type it in the chat because you're not seeing it. scalarlightenergy@yahoo.com, and I'll just email it to you.
Keep us in your prayers, people. You are in our prayers by all means. We are changing the world. Our small group with our advance, our small group with this technology, we will change the world within the next 5 to 10 years. Remember that. You'll look back on this in 5 or 10 years, and the world will start paying attention to what we're doing out there. The whole purpose here is to help people. That's what technology is for. It's to be our servant. I want to help people. So you hearken back 5 years, and you'll say, yep, I was there. I was there on the ground floor. God bless. Good night, everybody.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.